Why, hey there, boys and girls! It's me, Gorilla Hands, and Jiminy Willikers. I'm gonna bring you guys some Gears of War 3 game. I can't do the voice anymore. It's already getting old. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Gorilla Hands. I got a little Gears of War 3 gameplay, some King of the Hill. I'm not gonna show off the entire match because I think it ran like 12, 13 minutes, and I'm not gonna commentate over the entire game. So instead, I'm just going to show you guys the first round. We do end up winning this thing. But before I get into what I really want to talk about today, I've got a question for you, especially you Gears vets. This is a topic that pops up on the Epic forums all the time. It's a debate on whether or not the rifles are entirely too strong. I've seen some people say they're OP, they have too much stopping power, they're far too accurate, and some people say they do not need any tweaks at all. They're fine the way they are. Since I didn't play any Gears of War 2 multiplayer, and I have very little time with Gears of War 1 multiplayer, I don't really know how the rifles affected the overall dynamic and the tempo of the game. And right here I give this guy a little complimentary teabag because he teabagged me in the previous game. There's only two instances where I'm going to teabag somebody. The first is if you start teabagging me, then of course I'm going to come back with a retaliatory teabag. I feel like that's just proper etiquette. And also if you are using the sawed-off shotgun and you're like above level, I don't know, like 75, because why in the world would you still be using that gun? That shotgun sucks. The Gnasher is better in every way, shape, and form. I guess maybe you're trying to troll or something, I don't know. I mean, if you're just starting playing the game, then yeah, I can understand using the sawed-off, but once you hit like level 50, I feel like you'd need to make the switch. I know there's some type of achievement where if you get like X amount of kills with every single weapon, then you get like an emblem or something. I don't know what it is, but I don't have any plan, or I don't plan on ever getting it. I guess it's the only excuse I can think of though to ever use the sawed-off shotgun, but I think you can do that in private match anyways, so you don't even need to use the sawed-off shotgun in public matches, but whatever. What was I talking about again? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, some people say that the rifles are far too powerful. People can just kind of sit back and camp all day and try to pick people off because the rifles are extremely strong, they're very accurate, and it just affects the overall tempo of the game. It just slows everything down, and people aren't crazy about it. Then there's other people that say that there's a time and a place for the weapons, that people shouldn't always be focused on close quarters combat. It shouldn't be completely, or the game shouldn't completely revolve around the Gnasher, that there should be some more utilization of the rifles. And me personally, I tend to follow with that logic a little bit more, because if you're charging at me from like 50 yards out, and you don't have any, I mean, if you got the Gnasher in your hands and you're not trying to be evasive, and I've got the Hammer Burst or Lancer in my hands, I'm not going to switch to the Gnasher and charge at you. I'm going to pick you off and kill you. And typically, I mean, if somebody really knows what they're doing, they're going to be able to avoid a lot of my assault rifle fire. They're going to be able to close the gap and force me to pull out the Gnasher. So I feel like even people, I mean, if you have really strong movement, you're going to be able to use the Gnasher anyways. So that's just my personal opinion. I mean, I don't really think that rifles need a whole lot of tweaks. I wouldn't mind trying the game out, maybe having the Hammer Burst have a little bit more recoil, or the Lancer having a lot less stopping power, just to see how it affects the overall dynamic. But I don't really think they need a tweak. But I'm not a Gears vet, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. But what I really want to talk about today is spawn systems, and not just spawn systems specific to Gears, just in video games in general, because I feel like the spawn system can kind of make or break somebody's experience. If you have a really crappy spawn system, then you might not want to play that multiplayer game anymore. I know with my limited experience after I rented Modern Warfare 3, my biggest gripe with that game was the spawning system. I know a lot of people have a problem with the lag compensation, but that didn't really affect me all that much. But the spawns were just horrible. I mean, and it wasn't just like negatively affecting me. There were situations where it would spawn me like immediately behind a group of people, and you know, I mean, they had no idea I was there, and I was able to get like a double, triple feed. And I didn't do anything, the game just put me there. And then there's situations where like it would spawn somebody like immediately in front of me or immediately behind me, and I'd see them spawn in. It was just really horrible. The spawns didn't make a whole lot of sense. I heard somewhere that 402 is, like, he put out a tweet that the spawns have been tweaked. I don't know if that's true or not. Let me know if they've actually really adjusted the spawn systems. But yeah, that was probably my biggest gripe with Modern Warfare 3 whenever I played it, outside of the overpowered FMGs or whatever the hell those secondaries are. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of any game where the spawn systems are flawless, where I have zero complaints or maybe very minimal complaints. In Gears of War 3, I think TDM works out fairly well. Sometimes it can get a little hairy, sometimes people will spawn right next to you, but there's really only 2 spawn points, and you have a little narrator letting you know if the spawns flip, so they make sense for the most part. King of the Hill can get rather chaotic. Sometimes you'll have people spawning in the next hill, sometimes teams will spawn immediately next to a hill while another team spawns on the other side of the map. So yeah, some King of the Hill can be a little dicey at times. I'm trying to think of anything. I mean, honestly, I can't think of any game mode or any game I've ever played with the spawn system as 100% flawless. The only times it ever works is when you don't have any respawns at all. So like in Gears of War 3, it's Execution and Warzone. Counter-Strike, you don't have any respawns. You just have your one spawn point. Search and Destroy and Call of Duty. I mean, those are the instances where I think the spawns are actually perfect. If somebody's able to flank up and get behind you, it's because you weren't paying attention. It wasn't because the game spawned them in a weird location. Battlefield 3, the TDM spawns are absolutely horrible, but at least in like Russian Conquest, you can see who you're spawning in on. So as long as you're paying attention, as long as you see where you're spawning into, then normally you can spawn in on somebody safe. So yeah, I think the best spawn system I've ever used that has dynamic spawns, at least in recent memories, probably Black Ops and Domination. Sometimes it can get a little crazy, but for the most part, the spawns made sense, at least to me. They didn't seem to be too wild. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and like always, take it easy.